Hello and welcome to Fiber Trek. My name is Sarah. Welcome. You are most welcome to this creative space here in the North Woods of Maine. On this episode, I'm looking forward to catching you up on some quilting projects, finished items. I am starting to think about all of my summer plans and what I would like to do with the good weather. I have a book review and I want to talk about some knitting projects that are underway, both new and old. If you are a patron of this podcast, a deep, heartfelt thank you, or if you have donated through Ko-fi, I am deeply grateful for your support. For those that choose to share insight, like, subscribe, follow along on the vlog, I couldn't do it without all of you. I'm so glad you're here. Let's catch up.
If I got every word perfectly weighted on a thin piece of paper, would it make any difference? Would it change for the better? If I wrote you a poem, if I posted a letter?
Been in the sewing space of late. Part of that, I think, was I've been working on other projects. And the other is that I didn't feel like setting my machines back up, I know, lazy, to get done what I needed to get done. I had been working on another project, which I will tell you about, and that required polyester thread, and I like to do most of my piecing and binding in cotton thread. But I had 2 quilts returned to me from the long armor, so I was inspired or coerced into swapping out my machine to work with the cotton thread. My Singer Featherweight I do use for piecing, but it is in need of service, just a routine tune-up, which Rob is going to do for me. He's also working on other projects, so I'm hoping that will be in his near future. I like to primarily use that for all of my piecing. That to be said, two quilts came back from the long armor. One is the Rippling Star quilt, and I got the binding on as you saw. The other is Ballerina by Jaybird. If you're looking for resources, all of that is listed in my blog site, fibertrek.wordpress.com, or if you are a patron, I do list that all out on the post. So all of that is listed below in both of those sites. So Ballerina came back. Rippling Star came back, and I was inspired, as I said, to get those bindings on. I do love the hand stitching portion of that process. I do not enjoy the binding, applying the binding portion of that process very much. So if you had seen a studio vlog last month, I think it was last month or maybe the month before for patrons, I also received a quilt back from the long armor about 2 months ago. That was a flimsy, or a top that I had from my great-grandmother. It was all hand-pieced, I think primarily from clothing. I had that quilted. It too needs to be bound. So I have 3 quilts to bind. The scrap quilt from my grandmother, which is a very larger quilt than the other 2 I had returned, has me a little bit, I'm a little stalled on that because it requires so much time. So I opted to do the smaller lap quilt to start so that I can make some progress and get that done. Part of the reason I haven't been piecing or quilting or doing those elements is I was working on this Firefly tote, which is finished. This is Firefly tote by Noodlehead, and I used a wax canvas from Big Duck Canvas, and I used a cyanotype that I did last summer or 2 summers ago. It's a wet cyanotype, and I'll be doing some of that this summer. I'm looking forward to that. Everything is greening up here, so I'm starting to be able to find some leaf madder, ferns, trees, etc. to work with. It kind of stalls a bit in the winter when you work with natural elements here. So that is finished. It has leather straps. I did do I can't remember what these are called now. The name escapes me. These kind of, they're not grommets, but I did that instead of stitching down the handles. And then the interior drawstring pocket I did out of a Nara Homespun by Sevenberry for Robert Kaufman. And I am just working on lusetting some of my own cordage for the interior of that bag out of wool. So I had used polyester for this, and I had swapped out my machine. So that was part of the reason that I've been a little bit, as I mentioned, stalled on the quilting and the piecing. I don't have, the only quilt I have right now that is in progress is the one for Cameron. It is the fish quilt. I have not worked on that. Yeah, I have, once I get all of the quilts that need to be bound, the binding on, I think I'll try to put some attention to that and hopefully have that done by the beginning of the summer. The other hand stitching work that I finished was my Marshma. This is a project I've been working on for a while, and I describe it in the last episode, but it's a sewing kit, and it's done in a fulled wool fabric, and it has a Lord of the Rings inspired motif. This is all wool felt that's appliqued on. I use my Cricut machine to cut these pieces out, and then I just hand stitch it on. So the binding came from the Woolly Thistle, and it is a Norwegian braid done in wool, and I have decided to use this as a jewelry roll for now. I was traveling in between my parents' home and this home. My jewelry started to get spread out. I have a few really lovely pieces that I like to wear frequently. I do often have these amber beads on, but part of that is because I don't have my jewelry, it's not accessible, and so I don't often change it out. So that's what I'm hoping this will provide, is a way to consolidate all of it and have it readily available. So we'll see. It may end up turning into another sewing kit, or it may become a gift. I am unsure at the moment. The cordage is 100% wool that I did on the lucette, and I just finished it with two shank buttons in kind of a silver tone finish. So I'm really happy with that, and that's done, and I am thinking already about what my next one will be, and I'll probably be focusing this summer on that. I think I talked about that previously. So that's really it for the hand stitching and the quilting. I am contemplating cutting out the girls' quilt. I have a dog quilt, and for Madison, my niece, and I have a Woodland Friends quilt for my niece Annie, who is, I think, 16 months. I'm not sure how old she is these days. She's over a year. So those are some things that are percolating around that I plan on tackling as soon as summer break begins for me, which will be very soon. But until then, I'm just trying to satisfy myself with some finishes, hand stitching. I'm not really attending to the piecing, and I'm dreaming a little bit about what quilt I want to start for myself next. So yeah, so there's a lot to look forward to this summer, and I have a lot of plans, and I kind of can't wait to dive right in.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know, if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down.
It's taken me a while to ease into the spring-summer routine up here. I took a little break because I really just wanted to sit and knit and work on some projects, and I wasn't finding myself gravitating towards some of my other endeavors and thinking a little bit about work and recovering from some sort of cold or maybe allergies. But I felt like a step back into all of the projects could be getting some things ready for projects forthcoming that didn't require a completion, that was simply one step in a larger process. And so I am looking to work with some natural dyes this summer. I'm not planning to travel at all. I really just wanted to come and feel grounded. And 2 summers ago, I did that. You may have caught that. I did some shibori dyeing. I worked with indigo. I did a bunch of botanical printing. I just kind of got lost in that process. I was very inspired by Jane Dunwald and her books. I've detailed them as part of that those episodes. And so I thought I would get some wool ready to be mordanted. This yarn is leftover from a custom spin that I had done from wool from First Nest Farm in Orkney, and it's, you know, white and ready to be put, used for color. So I thought that would be a nice step to try to ease myself in and get myself prepped for a little bit longer break that is coming up. Now, I used a couple different books. Initially, when I first started dyeing wool, I don't know, 20 years ago, I don't do it very often, but I was doing it quite a bit for a job that I used to have. But I picked up A Dyer's Garden by Rita Buchanan. And then I also picked up her other book, A Weaver's Garden. And these kind of have been my reference points as well as the internet. Recently, I got Wild Color by Jenny Dean, and you saw me using this to put together my mordant solution. Something I saw in here that I thought would be really fun to try later in the summer is a rhubarb mordant, and we have a ton of rhubarb, and I thought the leaves are toxic. We don't obviously eat those. So I thought, oh, I could make a mordant bath and give that a try, or maybe do some dyeing with them. So I saw that in Jenny's book, and I took a suggestion from Jenny's book to do a cool alum mordant bath. So I won't be heating it up on the stove. I'm not using cream of tartar. I am pre-soaking my wool, and it will go into the mordant bath, and it will steep overnight. I thought that would be efficient. It doesn't require a lot of tending, and I like that the process allows me to do other things in between. I'm not in a rush for this, so I'm not feeling like I need to push the process. I have currently in my possession access to the natural world, obviously, for dye plants, but I have some walnut paste, and I have indigo. I have something else I ordered from Stony Creek Colors. I'm not sure if they're shipping anymore, but I'm gonna just do some reference here, maybe see if I can find some other extracts that might be fun to work with. And I also want to pick up some pieces or items or recipe ingredients to do botanical dyeing per the recommendations from Jane Dunwald's book. So I have a little bit of a list to make and start to gather materials for the summer. And I am really excited because I picked up this book a little while ago, Make Ink, and I have been waiting for the snow and the ice to disappear to practice that. So I want to just give you a little insight into this book and see where we end up further on in the season. Make Ink, A Forager's Guide to Natural Ink Making by Jason Logan caught my eye when I was doing a bit of watercolor painting, and I found it at a local bookstore, and I decided to add it to my library. I really like the layout of this book. It covers a variety of basics for foraging etiquette as well as preparedness. It has a basic recipe and preparation for ink, and then he goes about his chapters by color. So the preparation that goes into certain colors, the materials for that, and then how to extract the actual ink and then preserve it. At the end of the book, he goes through a variety of art projects with the actual ink, and I found that really inspiring as well. So overall, a really lovely book, lots of practical applications, and I'm looking forward to playing around with it this summer. Welcome to the fiber and knitting portion of the episode. Before we launch into all of the woolly goodness, I just want to take a minute to reiterate how deeply grateful I am to those that contribute financially through Ko-fi or through Patreon. I am really humbled and encouraged at the way those platforms have enabled people to add value to this production work and this creative journey. So thank you so much. I find deep motivation through the comments that come my way on YouTube, liking and subscribing to create traction around this video or content so others can find it. So thank you for all of that, and I am so blessed to share this creative space and endeavor with all of you, and it's been going on for over 10 years now, and it's ever evolving, and I love the way that pushes me into discovery, curiosity, and developing lots of new skills as a lifelong learner. So thank you so much. Maybe that was a bit convoluted, but I hope you got the overall gist that from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. But let's talk about the knitting and the wool, which is where it really all started, right? This used to be, and it's expanded, and yeah, so and there's still lots of places to go. Well, my knitting, I have just, for the past couple months, couple weeks, I've really just wanted to sit and knit. It doesn't, for me, that can be very slow. I get pulled away. I have looked at spending time with family. It doesn't always lend itself to some of the projects that I'm working on. But I've been very drawn to resting with my knitting. And I have tried to find ways to kind of shake that up a bit, and one of them was to work on the creative course with Alice Starmore. There are, I think there's 3 creative courses she offers on her website, and I wanted to work on the belt. And this particular course has a belt and a bag. They are knitted, and then they are fulled and wet felted. And then you can embroider on them. And she has a whole course, and I think I talk about that in my Patreon vlog last month. So I went ahead and did it, and then because I ran into some trouble understanding all of the directions with the way she had prepared her wool. So all of the instructions are for her Hebridean 2-ply, and you use multi-strand. I wasn't sure I had enough in my stash to mimic that. I didn't feel comfortable using a heavier weight yarn because in some instances you needed those 2 strands on your needle in order to do certain increases. So I went ahead and I ordered the box that comes with that, and you get to pick your colors. You get to pick your main colors for your bag and your belt, and then you get to pick accent colors for the cording and the beads and the felting or accessories, etc. So I went ahead and did that. And that was super fun to kind of go through all her colors. It was a great way to look at what she has available. I have worked with Alice Starmore Hebridean 2-ply in the past. I've made mittens with it, and I love it. I love the whole aesthetic. I think it's so beautiful. And I have talked about Glamoury before on this channel on previous episodes, and so I love the moodiness. It's very earthy, and yeah, so I went ahead and, as I said, ordered the kit that goes with that. My main color was in Glen, and it's kind of a earthy green. I'm not sure it's going to show up as well here, but I have finished the belt. It needs to be wet felted. I'm unsure of my sizing, but I'm not necessarily in need of wearing this. This is more of a creative challenge for me. So there's a lot of ways that this is styled because you add belt loops to the back and it's laced, so it doesn't have to meet in the back. So you're going to use the belt loops and tensioning on cordage to get it to fit your waist. Now, like I said, I finished the belt and I used her creative course for the short row shaping and how she did the short rows. There are a few mistakes in it. I'm not super worried about it. I'm hoping that with the wet felting that I do, they will kind of disappear into the fabric. This belt is worked, as I said, in short rows, but your right side, the side that you're going to embroider on, is the purl side of the fabric. And again, I have a few mistakes that I made, and I'm hoping, again, that through the felting process that they will go away. Regardless, it didn't take me very long to knit. I understand the construction now. I think I can substitute yarns very easily. And after the wet felting process, it will give me a better idea of what the finished look should be and how much of the stitches and stitching you should be able to see. I love the idea too of like taking this form and creating kind of a cardboard form and wet felting it from just raw fiber, not spun. So we'll see how this kind of unfolds. But anyway, I do need to wet felt it. I have bamboo, long bamboo shades that I use. I'm hoping that that will work. They are very long, but and I just am not interested in trying to amalgamate more materials, and so I have the basics, so cross your fingers for me. But that will get done very soon, hopefully next weekend, and we will then get to start the embroidery process. And I think that's where that creative course will really pick up all of the technique around the felting of beads and the cordage and how she does the embroidery. I did feature embroidery, what is it called? Embroidery on knits a few months back. So I think that will also play into this. So that, I think, is where the course will really enrich the experience. I have found the videos to be very clear, the narration and the instruction to be very helpful. So I think that looking for tips and tricks on the short rows, that was really helpful to me. And yeah, overall I've enjoyed the experience so far, and we'll keep going with it. I do plan on knitting the bag and seeing how that goes. That is pieced and needs to be seamed together. That's not always my super forte, but perhaps with Alice Starmore at my side, I will achieve some really nice, even seams. So I've really enjoyed that. The other piece I've been working on is my roots and shoots. I have just been going around and around in the body. I have finished the body and I need to work on the hem. That is done in a 1x1 rib with a contrast color, so a corrugated rib, and I'm not sure if I'm interested in that because I am concerned that it will pull in the it will make it narrower around the hip, and I don't really enjoy that look. And I'm not going to go down a needle size, so I'm making some decisions about that. I like the way it looks in the finished product. I'm just not sure I can achieve the correct tension so that it doesn't kind of pull and gather. I really want it to kind of have a straight look as it comes down. I did add shaping on the sides per the Drema sweater by Jennifer Steingass. I like the way that fits my body, so I kind of matched those up, did some shaping at the waist, and I'm back to the original number for the Roots and Shoots sweater. And so yeah, I need to make some decisions about that. It's going to happen today. The Yell I have been working on by Marie Wallen in Spindrift, and I had to rip back a big chunk of my colorwork section because I did not like the way the colors are working. So I think I'm happier now. I really want to introduce the blue and some green. So I'm pulling from the previous charts on that and just trying to make that work with the colors I have, because I'm going to introduce, as I think I said, I'm going to introduce some blues going forward and maybe even a little bit of purpley pink. So I'm trying to like think about how that's going to work as I move up the charted row. I'm only a few charts away from starting on the main color work portion, which is the kind of the all over just general pattern. So I'm very close to getting there. And hopefully this summer will provide me some time to just sink into the methodicalness of that particular pattern. So that's really it for the wooliness that's been going on. I organized my stash. I pulled a bunch of stuff out that I'm going to get rid of. I have some friends coming. Let them pick through it. I have some fleeces, some roving that needs to go. So all of that has been set aside. I'm feeling really good about it, and it's always so satisfying to go back into the stash and just see the yarns that you have that still resonate with you. I have stash from over 22 years, and some of that is still really a heartthrob for me, like my Hope Spinnery yarn, which was done in Hope, Maine. It's so beautiful. I don't know, I haven't knit with yet. Been hanging on to it apparently. But anyway, some of those oldie but goodies still hanging out and still waiting for that perfect project. And it's nice to know that you have the amount of wool that you might need to just dive right in. So I'm super excited to have that organized and be engaged with my stash. The last thing I think I forgot to mention was Roots and Shoots. I'm knitting with New Tiden, and which is an unspun yarn, unspun roving. Is that unspun roving? It's a roving, or a pencil roving, or a sliver maybe. It's similar to Plotalopi, and the main color I'm holding together with one strand of mohair from Knitting for Olive, and the contrasting color I am holding double New Tiden from the unspun, just to kind of even out the gauge of those two. So I think that's correct. Alice Starmore 2-ply Hebridean, New Tiden from Onoaker, and Knitting for Olive. And then the third thing I mentioned was the Yell, and I'm knitting that with Jameson's Spindrift and in my own color, and I think all of the material is there. But again, like I said, you can check the resources list on the blog site, or if you're on Patreon, you'll see it. On a quick note, if you're interested in supporting this vlog, you can find me on Patreon, where it is a per episode membership. So it's suggested $3 per episode. You can go up from there, but it would be $6 per month if I publish 2 episodes and $3 per month if I publish 1. And you also receive a bonus studio vlog each month. So that is available to you, and I am also on Ko-fi, and you can make a donation through there. And I also have an affiliate link, which is below, for the Woolly Thistle. So if you are shopping with Corinne and want to shop through that, I get a bit of commission, kicks back to me, no cost to you. It's just a way for Corinne and I to collaborate, so you can check that out. On that note, I'm gonna bid you a fond farewell. I am looking forward to seeing you next time. I hope that this finds you well and in good spirits. Many fond wishes and blessings. Thanks again. Take care. Bye.